Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Founders Grid, sponsored by Caper.io. Today we have Kaylee. Kaylee is the Director of Operations and Finance at Spocket. Kaylee, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, give us a brief background about yourself before Spocket, what you've been up to.
Yeah, for sure. So I started my career in management consulting at Deloitte. So I really started out in the strategy space, but I didn't realize it at the time. But everything I was exposed to was about technology. So the way technology transforms organizations. And at that time in my career, I was fresh out of university, so very green and excited. And I was exposed to a lot of very large corporations, which was phenomenal because it really gave me a toolbox that I needed to solve problems and understand how businesses worked. But ultimately, at the end of the day, after a number of years in consulting, I kind of realized that that probably wasn't going to be the long-term path for me. I'm super passionate about startups and entrepreneurship. Both my parents are entrepreneurs, and I've always had that kind of knack in my body. And so I slowly kind of transitioned out of consulting and moved into more of the startup space. And I eventually co-founded a company called Mob Squad. And Mob Squad's a company that helps build teams of developers remotely in Canada, mainly for companies in the United States. And so there's a lot of companies doing that. There's tons of different offshoring or outsourcing and lots of different kind of twists on how to build remote teams. And I think that's largely because as we see tech booming, there's so much desire and need for more developers and software engineers. And so we saw that need, but we put a bit of a spin on it in terms of helping highly skilled engineers from the United States, mainly on H-1B visas, relocate to Canada. And so it was a really exciting time, a great company that's still, helping a lot of companies down in the United States grow and sustain their development teams. But eventually, at the end of 2018, I moved back to Vancouver and joined Spocket. And now I oversee operations and finance for Spocket, which is a very fast growing dropshipping marketplace for US and European made products.
Okay. So, and how's the journey been so far at Spocket? And if you can highlight a bit more on Spocket's business model.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. I mean, it's a really exciting time to be in the space. As we all know, e-commerce is booming, and we're really kind of seeing that happen even in our business. So the way Spocket works, we're a two-sided marketplace. So on one side, we have retailers who are looking to start and scale online stores, and they come to Spocket so that they can find products to add to their online store. And when they add these products to their store, they market and sell them, but they don't actually hold the inventory. So when they receive an order on their online store, Spocket's technology sends it to the supplier who packages and ships the product to the end customer. So it's all based on drop shipping. And as a two-sided marketplace, we have retailers on one side and suppliers on the other. And from a business model perspective, we charge a nominal monthly subscription for retailers to run their store.
Okay. And unfortunate times because of COVID, but it has kind of like has been acting as a catalyst for multiple other businesses and all. So how's it been doing for Spocket?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think overall, Spocket has been a source of, I would say, stability for a lot of our retailers and a lot of our new retailers. So if you think about it, a lot of folks are, stuck at home, locked down, or unfortunately, some have lost their jobs. And the beauty of Spocket is that we help anyone start an online store. Anyone can be an entrepreneur. And so in these times, folks are turning to Spocket to start an online business. And so it's been really phenomenal to kind of be that source of potential income for up and coming merchants. And we've certainly seen changes on our platform just in terms of activity, sales, lots of positive indicators around the pandemic. And I think that's just a signal that more folks are, at home starting businesses and really relying on the internet to generate that income for themselves.
Oh, interesting. So your role is primarily you look after the operations and finance, right? Operationally, it has been challenging a lot for even the traditional companies to maneuver through COVID, right? So how, so any three tips of how to better operationally manage your teams, and then we'll get down to the mental health after that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been 6 months since our team has essentially gone remote. It's been 6 months for most companies. So, one of the biggest things that we're constantly thinking about is how to make sure that everyone stays engaged and stays aligned for our longer term objectives and our medium and short term objectives too. And so, for us, how do we keep that cohesion in the team? And it's kind of two parts. So from our cultural and fun aspect, we're still trying to make sure everyone's engaged through online quiz nights, and cooking together is one of the new ideas we have in the pipeline. So making sure that people are feeling engaged and connected as a team. And then on the more objective KPI metric front is having these weekly meetings and actually meeting a little bit more frequently, just to make sure that people have their questions answered, know what the priorities are, and know what we're all working towards as a team. So I think building in that cohesion is really important. The second thing that we've been doing a lot more lately is scheduling more regular feedback sessions. And we're doing this with every type of team. So with customer support, with supplier operations, and really just gathering feedback to say, hey, what's working and what's not. And frankly, we should have been doing this before COVID, but I think COVID really kind of helped propel that forward a little bit more, just because we were more remote. And we've garnered so much feedback from the team on things that we just had no idea was a pain point or was a challenge. And so I think scheduling these regular meetings, there's no agenda, it's very free flowing. That's been very valuable to us because we are a very structured team. Typically, all of our meetings have agendas. So it's been nice to have these meetings where anything you want to say, you can. And I think that bleeds into my third point is around innovation and creativity. Even during COVID, when we're trying to change and adapt to the changing environments, we're still trying to experiment and innovate with new ideas and new projects, and not stay stagnant. And that's been very beneficial to us as well.
Interesting, interesting. So for us, it has been kind of like, we're also going through our learning curve. Yes, we've been building remote teams for a couple of years now, but yourself going remote, that was a challenge of its own, right? From the marketing to the sales. So we initially started off with 30-minute calls, then they went down to 15. Now all the calls are restricted to like 7 minutes. So we're kind of like going through our own interesting kind of challenges. So my next question is, so now it's been 6 months that most of the companies have, majority of the world has been remote, right? So would so now the discussion is coming up whether to go back to office or not. So I have you guys reached a decision yet? Or we did a survey as well. I can share the findings of the survey with you after this as well. So do you guys plan to go back to office? If not, then what are the team building activities that you intend to take eventually?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm at the office right now. So I definitely enjoy being in the office and kind of getting away from home and creating that separation between home life and work life. It's completely optional for our team. We've organized it so our business and ops teams come in on Tuesday, and our tech and product teams come on Thursdays, just to make sure that there's separation and space and social distancing. But it's completely optional. And I think that just like every other company, we're taking it day by day and assessing how things are going. We don't know what the next week, month, year holds. And so I think creating a bit more flexibility and agility around our teams and where we work and how we work makes everybody feel comfortable and allows them to lean in or lean out as much as they want. So I have folks who come into the office every day because they prefer that, and some people who have their parents at home and aren't able to do that. So I think for us, it's really about a balance and creating space to make sure that people are able to make that decision for themselves.
Okay, interesting, interesting. Um, any last question? Any three pieces of advice that you would give to young entrepreneurs who are just starting out, and especially the ones who started out in the pandemic? Any three pieces of advice you would give to them?
Wow. Okay. So put me on the spot there. Let me think about it. I think one piece of advice is to build out kind of like a personal board of advisors. I have a lot of mentors and coaches and peers that I look to help bounce ideas off of and help me think through different career decisions that I have. And that's been paramount to my success throughout my career. And so I think like this idea of having a mentor or coach can be really intimidating because you're like, how do I find one of those? And it doesn't necessarily have to be formal. It can be somebody that you really looked up to in one of your internships or jobs or at school. But I think bouncing ideas and talking this through with folks is super important. I think the second is that people should take risks, especially when you're just starting out, you're a new entrepreneur. Now is the time to take risks. And sometimes I look back and I wonder, oh, should I have jumped and taken that risk? Because you don't want to live with the what if. So I think that's a big one. And the third is be a lifelong learner. Try and constantly absorb new information, read articles, take courses, take on projects that you don't have the skill set in, because that's been very influential in kind of carving out my skill set. And I think that you are always capable of learning and should be learning new things so that you aren't a master of none. You can really have skill sets in a lot of different ways, becoming a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. Kaylee, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm pretty sure we could have had it for another 30 minutes, but my marketing team tells me I need to keep it within 12 minutes. Thank you so much for being on the show. Take care of yourself and stay safe.
Thanks for having me.